Hello and welcome to the next episode of the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts.
I am Rodney Godek. How you doing, brother?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Episode
I
22
really love that intro. I don't know if you've ever said that in the next episode of
the
That's
next
kind of fun.
and the
The
next
next episode.
episode. Last time on the
You
podcast for
remember
the recent.
whenever you would write something like in high school or middle school, and you had to like just use different intros to say the same thing,
Oh,
and then
sure.
this happened second, and then like therefore or like concluding, like you just reuse all the same ways to like begin a sentence because you didn't know what else to fucking say.
Absolutely.
That's what that
Uh,
reminded me of.
Welcome to episode 22 of the
Ooh.
podcast for the recently deceased.
Hey.
Um, Tonight we'll be discussing A Wounded Fawn. Uh,
Yeah,
a,
fuck yeah, we will.
a,
Travis Stevens.
yes, Travis, written and directed by Travis Stevens. A beautiful title, very misleading as to what you might be watching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was. It was good. All right, so if you're new to the podcast, we are going to do a short-ish review, give you our number on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is good and 1 is poo-poo. And then we are going to start a spoiler-laden conversation. So it's that time where you will tune out
Grab your
and
ladles.
come back later after you've seen the movie, unless you don't care at all. Then just stick with us through the whole spigadoo.
Spigadoo.
Yes.
Good one.
Yeah, spigadoo. All right, Rodney. How you doing?
Yeah. Brother, I am doing okay. Unfortunately, as far as our stream goes, we didn't get a chance to record last week because I was under the weather. It definitely sucked. I have energy tonight, and last week I would have been a complete disaster to do anything other than cower on the couch and want to watch movies, but I didn't even really feel like doing that. It just felt like just gross.
Uh,
Flu like symptoms, and but it was fine. It lasted for like 2 days, and then I was okay. It was like it was whatever. I don't
yeah.
get it.
I usually
So
love being I usually love being sick for the sake of movies. Like,
yeah,
sweet, I'm gonna watch 3 or 4 movies today. I couldn't imagine being sick and the feeling of not wanting to watch a movie.
yeah,
It's
it's like
just
just
like,
enough slight nausea and headache
yeah,
where you don't want to do anything, and so it
yeah,
was
oh,
very frustrating.
yeah.
It's just
That
waiting it out. But
that's
things are
your
good, so not letting it bring me down, Bruce.
All right, all right. Tonight we're going to talk about a wounded fawn. Josh Rubin stars. He pretty much is,
Ruby Rubin.
he pretty much is the movie.
All right,
Uh,
now that's not fair to Sarah Lind, but because she is wonderful
oh,
also.
yeah, she's great, but she's got 5 minutes of screen time. This it's an 80-minute movie. He's in 60, 70 minutes of it.
Nah, I don't know how accurate that is, but we'll discuss the because they wow look the movie has an two act structure,
Yes.
not like as far as through title cards, and she really does kind of lead the first one, and then his is like second one. You could really analyze it that way, I believe. As far as screen time, yes, he's in a lot of that first act regardless, and she's not in the second one as much, but her voice really is, and I
Hmm.
believe that she is one of the characters, and we'll get into
And
all the
yeah,
details.
sure, sure.
But so I think it's relatively balanced, but as far as him in his natural state, he really does probably do more heavy lifting with what's driving the narrative. So your point is taken. It's not you're not out of bounds entirely with that statement. So that's fine.
That's as long as I'm in bounds. As
Okay.
long as I'm playing the game.
Okay.
As long as I'm playing the game. That's all I really care for. So you want to go first? You want me to go first? I can go first.
Do you want to read the synopsis on the IMDb's?
Yeah, let's start there, as we usually do. A serial killer brings an unsuspecting new victim on a weekend getaway to add another body to his ever growing count. She's buying into his faux charms, and he's eagerly lusting for blood. What could possibly go wrong?
That's a very fun description. I like that. I mean, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I think it's a fine description. Um, let me So we have switched over to this new format where it's hard for me to share my screen with you.
Oh,
So
oh.
let me just show the folks at home what's going on here.
Yeah, go ahead. So the one thing with Travis Stevens is I wanted to see Jacob's Wife last year, but it was like one of the movies where I was like I want to see it, but I'm like there's other things that I'm prioritizing, and I never got a chance to see it. And because we've been so busy this year, I still haven't gone back to watch that one. However, I did watch Girl on Third Floor. That one stars CM Punk, and I will say I love Wounded Fawn a lot more than I enjoyed that one. It was fine, but there's reasons. Like the dude is rehabbing a house that he just bought, and he does all of these things that just drive me crazy as being a carpenter. Things that don't make any fucking sense, and so it's like it takes me out of it a little bit. Where I'm kind of annoyed. Like it wouldn't be that hard to just do this the right fucking way, or to make him look like such a fucking moron. But whatever, it's fine. Uh, so at any rate, but Travis Stevens, I was interested in, and especially with this. However, Josh Rubin, it's like I want to go through his filmography now because he's got a lot that's been going on, and I'm excited to do that.
Okay, excellent. And the trailer just finished as you wrapped up. So um, I'm gonna start. I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so a Wounded Fawn. It sets a stage of like it has a very indie feel. It's familiar. Um,
Shot on film.
Shot on film. It's beautifully shot. Um, and then it turns into like a psychedelic serial killer nightmare in the woods. So it's almost a twist on a slasher where the antagonist becomes the hunted, um, but he's hunted by his own mind, so to speak. Really, really interesting conceptually, like how it definitely feeds you a lot of tropes early and sets up a movie you've already seen, and about halfway through flips the script, and it from then on it's like chaos and really beautiful imagery, excellent acting from everyone involved, especially once like I said, Josh Rubin, who carries the movie. Um, with a with a hilariously like satisfying conclusion. Um, so out of left field, knowing nothing about the film, I have to give it a 7 out of 10.
All right, right on. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there. So it is very beautiful. I think the fact that it's on film and the weirdness that it has is pretty astounding. There's moments where you see the grain and some of the blips from the edit, and I love that. For it was to me, it was very obvious, and it was so much so that I was like, "This is indie. Did they really shoot this on film, or is this just an effect?" Because I was like, "This must be an effect," and that's I was like, "No, I don't know how I feel about that," but it's not. It's wonderful. Um, and there's a neat little Easter egg that I'll tell you about because after I watched this film, I started like getting into. I want to hear them all talk about this movie. I want to watch interviews. I want to like read about some of the mythology because and this is a movie. It's funny. This movie exists in a lot of ways as far as the stage that it's on begins in an art world. And with my background in the
Right.
arts, it kind of clued me in or got me engaged quicker than a viewer that was not in the art world would, I believe. And so I was excited about that. And then the fact that it's about mythology and these characters and symbolism, and there's all kinds of shit in the scenery that kind of comes back up or reinforces tropes or reasoning or characters' actions in a really fun way. I don't think that it's so heavy handed where you need to have an art degree and be very intelligent to understand, but I think that there's enough there to have fun with. And I don't think they're really worried about the message of what all that bullshit means, anyways. I think it's just
Right.
a fun place to play and go crazy with it. And it does go crazy, and it's very rewarding. Your idea of it, you're mentioning it being like sort of a slasher in this vibe of 70s era, like it does feel almost Giallo esque. the way Suspiria is lit, the original Suspiria, like it does a lot of those kinds of things, but then some of the imagery is just cuckoo, Lucio
Yeah.
Fulci like type stuff where it's like, what is happening? But then there's like moments where I was like, this is like the thing. With some of the visuals, fantastic, and it resonated really for me. I was cackling at some stuff, but then just like vibing with a lot of it, and it never really pulled me out. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
All right. At this time, we
You-
will.
You're like, you couldn't be more underwhelmed with anything that I shared. All right. Like the most tepid fucking response to my engagement with it.
It's at this time I'll ask you to turn to page 37 in your textbooks.
Fucking now. Yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's
All right,
start
all
tearing
right.
this thing open.
All right, so here come the spoilers. All right. Right off the bat, I fucking loved this movie. He's at the art show. He gets outbid on the thing. He's got my dealer's gonna wire the money. Let's go back
Right.
to your place and just give it to me. Like, make up whatever story you have to make up. Scam going on. He's also flirting with her at the same time. Like, if she
Mm-hmm.
says no about the art, she'll let me in for a drink. Like, at least
Yeah.
all I have to do is get through the door. Um, yeah, and then and then you see the fucking owl in the corner with the red light, and I'm like, holy shit! And he just goes up and gacks her right in the neck, and I'm just like, this movie's amazing. Like, 5 minutes in, I'm like, I am in for the ride. Like, this
For
is
sure. It's pretty quick the way that it gets into it.
Oh yeah, it starts
it's-
right off.
the intrigue is there, it's mysterious, but the visuals are right away, seeing the red glow, him like looking at it and like answering to it. And yeah, and then the fact that there's this art object as this like sort of enigmatic thing, like what's this got to do with things?
Right.
And you're like, I want to know more. Yeah, it's a beautiful way to enter it. And then it jumps right to now Sarah Lynn's character.
Right.
And this is just a quick sidebar. The whole scene in the gallery where she's with her friends and they're bullshitting about this and that, like that took me out of it because I thought that the other cast members were very much sophomoric in their acting abilities.
Oh sure.
It just didn't feel as natural and real. I was like, oh, is this going to be hokey because it started so good? What is this? But they were brief. And also, if I was in a gallery and there were these broads talking the way they were and kind of cackling while I'm trying to enjoy some fine art, like those guys did. You see how they did a quick cut where they look at him like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
That would have been me looking like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
At any rate, her meeting him and then going on, it's like it felt a lot like, and I think you mentioned this whenever we texted briefly, and we didn't talk a lot about the film, but it felt like fresh. And then by the time it gets to the house, you're like, is this the Fresh fucking house?
It looks like the house from Fresh. I swear to God,
it looks a lot like it. It is, Scott. If you've seen Fresh, anyway, like this has a lot of the same parallels in the pacing and the order of events, where it's like guy meets girl, girl swoons for guy, girl goes away with guy to a cabin, guy makes excuses as to why she can't do this or that on the way, and then like she's just there, and now events happen.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It only feels like Fresh for a very short period though, because the movie, like I said, it does a 180. Just as the, in Fresh, it was the scene where she passes out and then we get credits and then she wakes up and he's trying to explain to her what's happening. In this movie, it's kind of more like, does she somehow pass out first? Like
no,
or does he just
he attacks her,
he just attacks her
yeah.
and she runs and that's a chase. Yeah, so it's a little more obviously abrupt and action packed when it happens, but from that point on, the movie is just bonkers.
Well, the difficulty with us just talking about it tonight is we planned on doing this a week ago, and so like it's not as
Yeah,
fresh as it
fresh.
was a week ago. So that's shitty. But it's fan fucking tastic. So for me, we talked about the visuals and some of the clues. Did you notice the painting in the living room?
Yes. I don't know which one you're talking about. I tried to remember all the art.
There's a couple things, but like there's a giant white painting with
Yeah,
this abstract expressionist, and it has these four claw marks, like kind of right in the middle of it, and that's the tool that he uses
yeah,
to throat
yeah.
the first girl that he
Right.
ends up trying to use in the second one. Like it's right there the whole time.
It's
Uh
it's a Japanese weapon. I don't know what it's
oh right, yeah,
called.
it's a like a
I
yeah fucking
I call them bear claws because there's a board game that actually has a little cardboard chit of them that you can buy and trade. Um, and there's a whole bunch of other like feudal era weapons in there.
nerd alert.
Yeah.
A Poindexter.
So if you buy yellow, the board game,
but you must trade 2 experience points for the weapon to use it on
Um,
your character.
so I thought it was cool to see that weapon like actually ever get used. Because I had no idea what it was for really. Besides, just being like four claws that you hold in your hand.
Yeah. So that was there, but then there's a lot of imagery of like blood and viscera, whenever he's prepping dinner with the pomegranates and all of that.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and then the red owl, like the color of red, whether it's passion or anger or,
Yeah.
it shows up. But man, so like it's always going good, and like, but then once he commits the act,
Yeah.
then it's like things are off the rails from that point on, where he goes back to her body and like it's not there. And
Yep.
now he's like, now the I think they call them the Three Furies. Isn't that what that sculpture was called? The Three Furies, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
And also so when she escaped from him, she bashed his head. Oh no, this is where she bashes his head, right?
well, no,
Because she plays dead or plays sleeping, and he comes
yes,
up to
he
her
goes back. Yeah,
when he gets to her, she crushes his skull in with that item
with the sculpture.
that he stole from the last victim,
Mhm.
and we see this brain exposed with a fleck of skull in it.
Yeah, yeah,
So from now on, he's just living in this hallucination
yeah.
fever dream that we get to experience with him.
Right, massive head wound, Harry, and he just pushes it back in. It kind of has a moment from like, did you ever see that one shit? What was the one with that Franco did? Uh, 60 hours or 27 hours? How many fucking
Oh,
hours?
40,
What was
100
it?
117 hours. I don't know
Is
what it
it?
was.
Was it?
I don't remember. 40
I don't
something.
remember. But the dude that gets his arm pinned and he has to cut it. Do
Yeah.
you remember? Did you see that movie?
No.
Oh well, like he has to saw his own arm off. You know the
Sure.
story, right?
Yeah,
The
I know the
hiker.
story. Yep.
But when they get to like he gets to a nerve and like they shoot it in such a way and like make this high pitched like piano tinging type sound where you're like you feel your nerves kind of like get like, oh my god, that would be so horrific.
Yeah.
When he touches his brain, they kind of have that similar
Yeah.
effect where he's like he pushes it in where it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
that hurt.
And the screen flashes and
Yeah.
and weird stuff happens.
So it's everything from here on out for me was just like I'm laughing. When
yeah.
he's in the woods running and he looks over and he sees the fucking puma running next to him, and then it has the chick's face and
Yeah.
it turns to him and she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's just so just wild.
Yeah, the imagery, the stuff they come up with. There's, native looking and costumes and like, they've got fire, lots of darkness, especially when he's outside. He comes back inside and they have this straight out of Evil Dead 2 sequence where like the stove comes alive and it felt just like the
Oh my God,
the scene
yeah.
when the room came alive in Evil Dead 2. It was exactly that scene, just with this stove that he has to fight.
Yeah.
Um,
Then like as far as Sarah Lynn's character, I can't remember her actual character's name. It doesn't matter. She's in like the one white mask, which to me it looks a lot like the cover to was it Tourist Trap? Is that old 70s or 80s movie slasher? Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just watched it like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. But she's got the snake on her, and she's talking to him, and she keeps saying like murder, thief, and this and that.
Yeah.
But then like he's got this other visual that happens where, I think it's during that scene where they're at the dining room table. He's going crazy and he's trying to figure it out because obviously, like what the movie's doing is like it has his, and it doesn't answer a lot of things. It has his red owl thing going on,
Right.
but then once the event happens with the chick and this piece of art getting bludgeoned with it, now he's like this other shit is infiltrating his mind, like you said, and he doesn't know how to handle it because it's like it's altering his mind in a way where it's like an aggressor to the owl and him, and he's just experiencing this. And then so when it gets to the point where the owl is confronted with those other two figures, there's like plague doctor-esque type looking shit and weird puppetry, and it cuts off the fucking owl head.
Yeah.
The reveal underneath that was like just another layer of like outdoing what has preceded it in how insane it was, and it was so fucking weird.
Yeah.
It make no sense in a lot of ways. Like I guess they could kind of see it as like it's like internal brainstem type shit, and that's actually him, not this owl. Was just like another way to interpret his actions as a serial killer, and him using a reasoning like, oh, there's this thing that's driving me. It's not really me. It's this other entity.
I'm killing these women for him, for the owl.
The puppet was so stupid looking, but it was fantastic.
It was the movie. Like the movie just builds and builds and builds and builds to this culmination, and then how it finishes, where he is confronted by her in reality now. So we've seen her a bunch of times in this weird costume, and now we see her wrapped in a tarp.
But like here's the funny thing that's a callback because it makes sense. She gets there, right, and like you notice the wood, but then whenever he comes out of the house to look for her, he goes to that wood pile and the tarp is missing.
Right.
And so you know it makes it's like, okay, yeah, she did get out and now she is in the woods. So
yeah, because she was
wearing it like a toga,
right.
like an ancient Greek mythology type thing.
Because when she gets away from him, she's bra and panties, right? So like the first thing she did when she got outside was like protect herself from the elements. She steals this tarp. So she's got the tarp and she's holding something too. Was it a weapon or did she have like a torch? She had something.
I don't recall.
I can't remember what it was.
I don't know if it was relevant. It might have been something that he had, or like I think he might have been brandishing some branch or some other bullshit. But it's sort of moot because he more or less is like just weakened from this event that he's gone through, the head wound, and then he just succumbs to it. And so, but then they, if you enjoyed the credits to Pearl, here is a one-up on that. So the credits. It's not, a long shot of just a smile. This is him mutilating himself, and is pretty much killing himself.
Yeah. So whatever she says, whatever she says to him when they encounter each other, he just hits himself with the claw and drops it. She runs away, and that's kind of how the movie finishes the story.
Okay. Just she doesn't run away. She stands there for the entire credits and watches him continue to thrash his
credits.
Did you not watch the whole credits?
I watched the whole credits. He just kept doing this. And,
I know. Okay, so here's the thing I found out about it. Josh Rubin did an AMA on Twitter a little while ago, and someone asked him about that scene. And so was it longer than the 4 minutes that we saw for the credits? And he's like, yeah, a bit. The director was like, do you want to just do a whole roll of this? That'd be great. I'd like a whole roll of this. And apparently this film, the 16 millimeter that they shoot on, a whole roll is like 11 minutes of film. So he just did this for fucking 11 minutes. In relatively cold temperatures, half nude, just looking like a complete moron. But he said he fucking loved it, and it's just so bizarre.
He's great.
He really is. He's all in. He goes for it. He's swinging for the fences. But it's not like overacting. It's like at least with this, uh, it's toned in such a way that it makes sense with everything else that's happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you convey that as a director. Like, how do you, because some of the imagery is so sensory and I imagine is hard to provide the actors while you're doing the filming, because some of it might be After Effects or shot at a sequence or doing your blocking and things like that. It's not like you're doing a lot of oneers where you're performing these things. And
Yeah.
so I'd imagine it's hard to like put someone in the headspace of how to make this feel, uh and it's astonishing because like it's always the right tone with the delivery of their lines and everything else that they're doing. It's pretty cool. So I'm super excited to watch everything that they've done now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so real quick, before we wrap up, Josh Rubin, he was Aya Cash's co-star in Scare Me, which came out last year, which I thought was good. Not great, but very, very good. He directed The Werewolf Within, which was an honorable mention as a horror comedy in our last year's Best of 2021 episode. That movie was excellent, excellent. And I think that's all I wanted to mention about Josh Rubin. But yeah, check out Scare Me and check out the Werewolf.
I love how you
Within.
prepare. Like, okay, here's going to be a long thing. He's got a lot loaded up here, and go. And it's like, here's two things.
Here's
Go
these
check it
two
out.
things.
And also, kind of a disservice, like you kind of fucking walked on the stage at the Oscars and slapped Chris Red in the mouth because he's also in the Scare Me, and I would say he's also one of the leads. But at any rate, what else was there that I wanted to mention? No, I don't think there was anything else for Josh Rubens. Oh, Blood Relatives. It's another one that he's has a character
Blood
in Blood
Relatives. Okay.
It's on our list. It came out this year.
Yeah,
We haven't seen it yet.
It's on
But
the
I'm gonna.
list. It's on the list. All
I'm
right.
gonna.
I gave it
Just
a 7.
because of Josh.
I gave it a 7. Rod gave it an 8. A Wounded Fawn. We'll be back in about 5 minutes with The Leech for episode 22 of the podcast of the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts.
And I'm Rodney Godek. Take care.